Hi everyone. All right, so last time we went through, we started talking about perspective, which again, to be fair, I know can be quite a challenge, especially considering I'm teaching you 1-point and 2-point perspective in a single video, right? Now, obviously this is a college level and that's why things go so quickly, right? But this expedited, this really quick kind of behavior that we're doing in this class, understand, I've taught college classes, I've taught, high school classes before. Everything we did right here for a high school class would take like a month, right? So we were really compressing information down. I don't expect you to be a master of 1 and 2-point perspective, but there are a couple things that you can take away that we can use in our next upcoming project, and that is there's always one horizon line, and that's because there's only one horizon in real life. Think if you're like looking out at the beach, there's not like 6, sunsets. There's only one. And then if you're doing 2-point, you only have 2 points of perspective, and everything goes back to that. And if you're doing 1-point, you only have 1 point of perspective. It can be the exact same as your 2-point, or it could be something slightly different. But everything in 1-point will go back to that 1 point. So those are kind of the rules. Again, I gave you the little cheat sheets over here from before. Sorry about the camera wobble there. Gave you the little cheat sheets here and for 1-point and for 2-point. And just remember, if it's 1-point, it can go straight across, straight up and down, or back to the dot. Or if it's 2-point, it can go straight up and down or back to either dot. Those are your only options. So in your drawing, just look at every corner. If you find that something's not going to the dot, or not going anywhere, right? If I'm drawing this and where's that going? Then it's probably wrong, right? It is only going to be one of those options, straight up and down, back to the dot, or in 1-point perspective, it can go perfectly side to side. Now, what happens whenever we get to something more complicated? I know you guys definitely ran into problems with cylinders and different shapes, and that's to be expected. Whenever you're learning perspective, you want to start with blocks, something simple, something basic to really master this concept. But this upcoming project that we have really is kind of taking the leash off. It's saying, I want you to create a still life with, I think it's 5 to 7 objects, and it can basically be whatever you want it to be using the skills that we've learned so far, right? So using perspective, using kind of drawing with form and thinking about kind of the positive and negative space of your object, thinking about all the stuff we've learned so far and putting it into one single composition. Now, what I want to focus on is not how to make a composition or how to use your viewfinder. We've done all that stuff. That's in the past. I'm not even going to talk about it because we've done it. What I do want to focus on is what happens whenever you want to create something that is more complicated, right? More even than just a cylinder, right? Going from a cube to a cylinder can be hard, but at this point I think you guys pretty much have the general gist of what we're doing. But what happens whenever you want to draw something really complicated? So, I've got a whole bunch of random little objects lying around here that I thought were kind of more complicated from around the house. I've got an old award here. I've got a weird looking clock. Here's another award. This is my wife's. She ran a triathlon. It's a thing in North Carolina. They like pigs. I don't know. I've got an old statue from Disney World, right? I've got a whole bunch of random stuff. So what we're going to do is I want to show you how simply, using the information we've already got, how we're able to construct something much more complicated. Okay, picking at random, I'm going to go with the award here. This is one of my little old awards. I got it for a film contest that I entered. So kind of old, 2017. It's an old award. All right, so got my pencil set, I'm ready to go. Now, when I start drawing something, I always start with my lighter pencils and then I slowly darken them in from there. If you found that your outlines are a little too heavy, that would probably solve your issue. If you prefer the vine charcoal, you're welcome to kind of keep things a little more loose, a little more gestural. By all means, go ahead. And then, of course, I've got my kneaded eraser here. So let's go ahead and jump on in. I'm going to try and make this a quicker tutorial today, but it is going to be live, so it's only going to go as quickly as I can draw this guy. So there are two different styles, two different main styles of drawing. There's a whole bunch, but there's two different styles mainly focused on how to draw. There's one that focuses on kind of the outlines, and probably the first person to do that, to kind of quantify that, is a fella named Charles Bargue. It's B-A-R-G-U-E, I think. If you like drawing with outlines, check him out. I actually really like his style. However, it's kind of the opposite of what we're learning currently. What we're learning currently is more of, there's a guy named Loomis. I think his name was Andrew, I don't remember. But Loomis really is kind of what we're following along. And this style, this Loomis style, or you might have seen on like YouTube videos by using the Riley method. The Riley method and the Loomis method are almost the exact same thing. But this whole concept is really based on the idea of drawing with form, right? So you know, just from being a kid in elementary school, right? You know your basic shapes, right? Square, triangle, circle. And you know that those basic shapes can become a cube, a cylinder, if I link these guys together, right? So we could do like a cube. We did this once already, right? Cube, cylinder, right? I can do with a pyramid, or with a triangle, I can do a pyramid, I can do a cone, right? And so I've got my cube, my pyramid, my cone, my cylinder, and a sphere, right? So these five are the forms. So this is a shape, and this is a form, okay? Drawing with forms is almost like virtual Legos. You're basically combining all these different shapes to simplify a more complicated object. So drawing this is not going to be a fun time. It's going to be hard, right? All these ins and outs and wrinkles, and I got a guy's butt. This is weird, right? But it doesn't have to be, okay? So let's do this. I'm actually going to set this guy off on the side. I know you can't totally see him, but we're going to set him off on the side. He's right here. And I'm going to start thinking to myself. So let's think about this. First thing first, let's just do a rough outline to kind of figure out our positive and negative space. Not really worried about perfection here. So I know that there's going to be kind of the center. That's kind of a plumb line right down the middle there. Let's say there's the top of him, just kind of making this up. There's nothing that's locked in. This is totally arbitrary. So I'm just guessing, okay, there's the center, there's the top. Now I can use proportion, right? So let's say this figure here is about yay tall. Right, actually, let's do this. This is, again, just a random piece of paper, right? So he's about that tall, okay? Again, give or take. The base, then, let's see, because I am all about that base. The base is 1, 2, 3, what do you think? 4-ish. So the base is about 4, 1, 2, 3, of his overall height. So whatever size I make the bottom, so let's again ballpark here. So this is the top, that's the bottom. I know that if I divide this into fifths, right, because that's worth 1, if I divide this into fifths, that will tell me the height of my base. So some very basic math, right? So let's just divide this into fifths real quick, very rough. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's about 5, give or take. So there's the base somewhere in here. I don't know, we don't know the width yet. And there's the height. Okay. Now again, this figure is complicated, but I can simplify them. Kind of squint your eyes a little bit, and let's say, okay, well, I kind of see a triangle right there. Do you see it? Looks like a triangle to me. And a triangle in 3 dimensions can either be a pyramid or a cone. Well, I mean, the guy's kind of rounded, I guess. It doesn't really matter which one I use. I'm gonna go with a cone. Why not? So let's, again, use our little ruler here. So, looks like that first chunk, 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like a little bit taller than the base, right? So if this is 1, it's a little bit more than 1, right? So again, rough estimates here. We know that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So let's use that measurement. A little bit more, and again, roughly, somewhere in here is going to be that shape. Let's go ahead and turn it into a cone. Now, how wide do I make it? We got to do that math again, right? Let's try that again. Here's the overall width. Oops, you can't see. Here's the overall width, right? Let's see, the base here, this gold little podium that he's standing on, that's maybe like a third, okay? Looks like his feet, they're almost, what do you think, like a, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're a ninth. Oof, I was not good at math class. Looks like those arms, what do you think? Let's see. If the feet are 1/9, right, feet, and the podium here is 3/9, I know that's a fraction. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. So like 6/9. Wow. Math. You can tell I really pre-planned this, right? All right, so let's do some math then, right? So what's the width in comparison to the height? Well, it's about a little bit less than halfway. So let's take half, a little bit more than half, excuse me. Let's take that down, right? Half width. So this is going to be the overall width and height of our podium. Now we're going to put this in 2-point perspective, but again, we're just roughing things in. Okay, we're just roughing it in. All right, so that means that if that's the overall width, right, that's our height, I can take this, take this measurement, let's flip this around so I can get some fresh paper here, and I can divide this up into 9ths, right? That was our measurement. God help us, that we're gonna do 9ths. So I'm gonna do 1/3 first, and then 1/3 of 1/3. Now, obviously, your measurements are not going to be this. You're not drawing a small golden man. I just want to show you, like, if you are more of a logical thinker, you can use math to your advantage. Look at that. I was almost spot on. Dang. I am really good. You can't see me. I'll pat my back. There you go. I just patted myself on the back. I didn't really. Okay. So somewhere in there, right? I know that his head is about here, right? Kind of like a sphere, which means that his shoulders are going to be kind of in that region. Let's lower this down just a little bit. Okay, right? So he's kind of in there, right? Starting to develop. Let's check him out. We've got his chest down into his skinny little waist here. So chest and skinny little waist. And again, you could be using measurements. I'm just going to kind of pause on that and for the sake of time. I don't want to take up your entire afternoon. We know that he's got this little podium, and there are 3 sections. Those look like cylinders to me. Let's go ahead and do some cylinders. Podium, podium, little feet, kind of in there somewhere. 1, 2, 3. All right, so overall, looking, you know, kind of somewhere in there, right? Kind of to scale, looking good. But we've got definitely some problems. This is very 2-dimensional. We've been using pretty much shapes the entire time other than this one cylinder or cone. So now we need to push it into the 3rd dimension. So let's go ahead and use our horizon line, right? So depending on how much I want to be looking at the top, right? So right now, the horizon line for where you guys are at was non-existent. I mean, you're looking down at it, right? But the more of the top that you see, here, right, the more that horizon line changes. So right now, this, where my pencil is, that's your horizon line. As I tilt this, the horizon line stays the same, but you see more and more and more of the top, right? So if I want to see a little bit of the top, we're going to lower that horizon line down. I'm just kind of ballparking, let's say there-ish. And we want it in 2-point perspective, so we need 2 points. And I want to see the edge of my award here. So it's slightly off-center. It's not in the middle. Slightly off-centered. We'll say something like that. All right. Let's go ahead and do a little 2-point perspective here real quick. A loop. And one of these here. Now we're pulling this thing into the 3rd dimension. Right? Looks like it's just nearly square. So we'll take it back, and we take it back. Little crisscross action there. And okay. Now I gotta shift this. Look at that. Look at how the center of this box is right here. My guy is off center. So I'm actually just gonna cheat. I'm gonna move the box, the base, because that's actually easier than redrawing all this stuff, right? Let's push this back a little bit. Make sure that it's in the center. Okay, all right, now we're kind of back in the center. Let me go ahead and clean some of this stuff up here for you real quick. So I realize that it seems like I'm kind of all over the place, right? And that's really because this week's demo, or this week's project, is kind of on your own. You don't really need a demo this week, right? I'm trying to show you something that's much more complicated. So if this is above your pay grade, if you're saying, whoa, Kozak, I do not want to be drawing some tiny little gold award, I want to do some more basic objects, then please, by all means, go ahead. What I want to show you is the skills that you've already learned currently, you can do something much more complicated, right? You don't have to, you're not getting bonus points or anything, but I want to encourage you to challenge yourself. I think it's going to be beneficial for you to push just a little outside your comfort zone. One thing that I can say as a teacher myself, right? I can say this, I am someone who firmly believes that if you are willing to push yourself just a little bit, you might miss, but you're going to go way farther than you ever thought possible. Right? And when it comes to grading, if you're worried about those points in that, I'm always going to go way more lenient knowing that you pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone, more so than doing something hyper basic and still missing it, right? That's no good, right? You should be expected to be able to do the basic stuff. But if you push and you just nearly miss, I'm not going to fault you for that. That's honorable, right? So let's go ahead. I'm going to take what we've already drawn. I'm just going to lightly erase it, just so you guys can see. Normally I would just leave it like it is, but I want you guys to see kind of a ghost image here. So let's go ahead. We start off, this base here is round, so it's a cylinder. So I'm going to draw kind of an oval shape right in the middle. And I know there are 3 of them, and they kind of taper up just a little bit. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. Right? We've already done the measurements, so I know they're good. It does kind of splay out just a little. See, it goes out and back in again. Let's do that. Out, in, out, in, out, out, in, out, in, out. Okay, done. On to the next one. We've still got our measurements. Everything's still there. It's pretty accurate, all things considered. So now I can start kind of freehanding and making something much more complicated, right? Now, obviously, I'm drawing a little figurine human person, so it does help if you have a background in anatomy and understanding where eye placement and nose and stuff, and that's all very advanced. So maybe don't choose a tiny statue, right? Maybe pick something that's a little bit more non-humanoid, right? But even if you're picking something like, I don't know, like this little click light right here, right? Woo, right? That's complicated. There are little circles and ovals and cylinders and all sorts of gizmos and gadgets inside of there in this tiny little hockey puck, right? Everything can be complicated and can be more realistic if only you want it to be. So we know that his feet are going to be in here. We're going to do kind of a rough sketch here. I'm going to speed along a little bit. Talking too much. Now watch. What am I doing? I'm doing the outline, but really I'm following that contour. I've already done my measurements, so I know where things should be about, give or take, right? Thigh muscle comes out. Now this is more of what we talked about. This is more of that Barg style, right? Kind of finding the outline a little bit, back and forth. There's the calf muscle. Now this is probably going to get erased, but it really starts kind of tightening things up, making sure, look, are those ankles aligned? If not, fix them now, right? We're still very much in that sketching phase, right? So I'm just finding my positive and my negative space. I know his little kind of center core here, kind of hash that out, right? The arms feel a little bit wide to me, but I think we can work with that. Pretty straight across with that forearm. He's got his little forearm here, kind of cutting up. I'm going to simplify this down. Look at that. Simple, right? Simple, simple. There's a little bit of space in here. Right? He's got his pectoral muscles, his little deltoids, right? There's his neck and his traps. Right, just like that. Now, obviously, there's way more detail that goes involved here, right? Because now I want to start thinking about the 3 dimensions of the figure. But really the point that I want to get across to you is this. The more and more that you think about stacking these objects, right? Cylinders, stacking, cubes, in perspective, right? Think if I want to draw like, this is just a little tea light, right? Say I want to draw something much simpler than a big figurine guy, right? Well, this is just a cylinder. That's all it is. This is another cylinder, And even the wick is a cylinder. Think in 3 dimensions, right? Let's do that real quick. Draw an X-ray vision mode. You can see right through it. There's a cylinder. Let's draw another one on the inside. Get that little gap in there. A little wick. Just like so. I can switch to a darker pencil. Kind of bring those outlines back in. Of course, it's more organic because it's wax, right? It can be dented, kind of morphed and mushed, so that kind of helps. Doesn't have to be so perfect. The metal's got some little dents and things over time. It's just a cheap little dollar store guy. But the whole time I'm thinking about the 3 dimensions, right? Going around my object. All right, let's place him. Let's see. So if he's sitting kind of like that, right? Think about where your shadows are. Maybe start doing a little bit of shading and shadowing. We haven't really discussed it a whole lot. A little bit early on, but no harm in trying it. You won't get any points for it. It's not really about that, right? It's about just trying something, going outside your comfort zone, right? Maybe if the light's coming this direction, I'm gonna have a shadow going in this direction. Right? With the wax here, it's got a little shadow. Maybe the wick is casting a shadow. Right? And don't forget that background. Right? Pretty quickly, something easy, right? So remember, the takeaway for today is this. Whether you're doing something very complicated, kind of complicated, or basic like a cube, think in 3 dimensions. Really work your brain to think 3-dimensional. Draw through your objects, and then you can erase what you don't want later, right? Very much at this point, you should not be just straight out outlining and kind of hoping for the best, right? If I'm drawing this same kind of cylinder here, right, it's gonna look rough, just is. Because I'm not thinking 3-dimensionally, it will never look 3-dimensional. So I hope that kind of helps. Like I said, it's kind of awkward as to what today, or what this project's deadline is supposed to be, or deadline, excuse me, what this project's demo is supposed to be, because really this is the time where I kind of let you explore a little bit. Show me what you learned so far, and then we're going to continue to build on it from that, right? So this is in essence kind of our midterm, thinking about positive and negative space, thinking about kind of 3-dimensionality, thinking about perspective. Use it all. Use what you need. Show me what you got. Cool? Hopefully this wasn't too convoluted. Again, it's not about perfection. It's just about kind of thinking ever so slightly and differently. If you do have individual problems, questions, issues, anything like that, please contact me. Let me help you. I am genuinely happy to help you. I will send you an individualized video if that's what you need. Anything I can do to make your time here in this class simple, easy, and most importantly, beneficial. So all the best, guys. Be well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.